July 15, 1997. Miami Beach is waking up to another humid summer morning. The ocean breeze rolls in, people are grabbing their coffee, and a legend is about to start his day. Gianni Versace, the king of high fashion himself, steps out of his mansion, Casa Casuarina, to grab a few magazines. He's walking back, his signature sunglasses on, completely unaware that death is literally walking up behind him. And then, bang, bang. 2 gunshots echo through the street. Within seconds, chaos erupts. Tourists are screaming, people are ducking for cover, and the most famous fashion designer in the world is bleeding out on his own front steps. And the guy responsible? He doesn't run. He doesn't panic. He just casually walks away. Like this is all just part of his morning routine. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't random. This was the grand finale of one of the most bizarre and terrifying manhunts in American history. And the guy behind it? Andrew Cunanan, master manipulator, pathological liar, and the FBI's most wanted man. But before he turned into a cold-blooded killer, before his face was plastered on every news station in America, he was just a charismatic con artist who had spent his entire life pretending to be someone he wasn't. So how does a spoiled, smooth-talking rich kid go from sipping champagne at yacht parties to becoming one of the most hunted criminals in U.S. history? Let's rewind, because this story is insane. Andrew Cunanan was born in 1969, the youngest of 4 kids in a strict Filipino-American family in San Diego. His dad, Modesto, was an ex-military turned stockbroker, and his mom, Marianne, was deeply religious. Now, right from the jump, Andrew wasn't like other kids. He was freakishly smart, like genius-level IQ smart, but also a compulsive liar. By age 10, he's reading encyclopedias like bedtime stories and convincing people he's royalty. By the time he hits high school, this dude has completely mastered the art of reinvention. One day, he's the son of a rich businessman. The next, he's a secret agent or descended from European aristocrats. And the crazy thing, people believed him. But then things fall apart. His dad gets caught in some sketchy financial business and flees to the Philippines, leaving the family broke and humiliated. Andrew, he's not about that poor life. He cuts ties with his mom, moves out, and dives headfirst into San Diego's high-class gay scene. By his mid-20s, Andrew is basically a professional chameleon. He's got rich older men funding his every move, he's living rent-free in penthouses, and he's throwing cash around like he owns a bank. But here's the kicker. He doesn't actually have a job. His entire lifestyle is built on manipulation, charm, and straight-up lies. But in early 1997, things start crumbling. His sugar daddies cut him off. His credit cards are maxed out, his lavish lifestyle over. And when the world stops giving him everything on a silver platter, Andrew snaps. April 27, 1997. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Andrew is on his way to visit an old friend. But this isn't a friendly catch-up. It's about to be the start of a deadly spree that will have the entire country on edge. And his first target? Jeffrey Trail. Real quick, if you like this story so far, go ahead and like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next on Talescape. All right, back to it. Jeffrey Trail had no idea what was coming. This was a guy who had served in the Navy, built a solid life in Minneapolis, and was known for being loyal, disciplined, and well-liked. But what he didn't know was that he was about to become the first victim in Andrew Cunanan's terrifying descent into chaos. Now, Jeff and Andrew had been friends for a while. At least that's what Andrew liked to call it. In reality, their relationship was complicated as hell. See, Andrew was obsessed with him, but Jeff, he was trying to keep his distance. By early 1997, Jeff had started to see the real Andrew. The lies, the manipulation, the unstable personality. And when Jeff finally decided to cut ties, Andrew took it personally. And that's when he came up with a plan. April 27, 1997, Andrew boards a flight to Minneapolis, carrying nothing but a bag, a grudge, and a violent agenda. But Jeff isn't even his only target. There's someone else in the mix. David Madsen. David was a successful architect and an ex-lover of Andrew's, but more importantly, he was the one Andrew wanted the most. Now, it's not clear exactly what Andrew had planned, but we do know this. As soon as he gets to Minneapolis, everything spirals out of control. Andrew arrives at David's apartment, and within hours, Jeff is called over. What happens next? A full-blown nightmare. At some point during the night, Andrew grabs a hammer, and when Jeff walks through the door, he doesn't even see it coming. One brutal attack, then another and another. By the time it's over, Jeffrey Trail is lying on the floor, lifeless, unrecognizable. Now, you'd think Andrew would panic, maybe try to cover his tracks or run. But no, he does something even more disturbing. Instead of leaving right away, he stays in David's apartment with the body for 2 whole days. 2 days. David is trapped. He's got Andrew, who is clearly unstable and dangerous, and the body of his friend just lying there in his apartment. Neighbors would later say they heard arguing, shouting, then silence. But nobody called the cops. Nobody knew what was really happening inside. Then, on April 29th, Andrew forces David to leave with him. They stuff Jeff's body into a rolled-up carpet, leave it in the apartment, and drive off in David's red Jeep. From the outside, they probably looked like 2 friends going on a road trip. But inside, David Madsen was living a horror movie. They drive over 500 miles south, stopping at random motels, gas stations, and back roads. The entire time, Andrew is acting like nothing happened. He's chatty, laughing, making plans for the future, like he didn't just murder someone days before. But then, things take another horrifying turn. On May 3rd, just outside Rush City, Minnesota, David makes one last attempt to escape. He tries to run, but Andrew is faster. There, on the shores of East Rush Lake, the second shot rings out. And just like that, David Madsen is gone. His body is found the next day, and Andrew Cunanan, already hundreds of miles away, plotting his next move. Andrew Cunanan had just claimed his second victim, but he wasn't even close to being done. By now, his face should have been all over the news. A missing architect? A dead ex-Navy officer? 2 bodies, days apart? But here's the problem. The police had no idea what they were dealing with. See, back in the 90s, cross-state communication between law enforcement was a mess. The Minneapolis cops were still trying to figure out who even killed Jeffrey Trail when David Madsen's body showed up miles away. And by the time they put it together, Andrew was already halfway to Chicago. Now here's where things get even worse. Andrew needed a new target. Someone with money, connections, and no idea what was coming. And that's when he picked Lee Miglin. Now, if you're from Chicago, you probably know that name. Real estate tycoon, millionaire, huge deal. This was a guy who had built skyscrapers, worked with politicians, and had more wealth than he knew what to do with. But what people didn't know? Lee had secrets. On May 4th, 1997, Andrew rolls into Chicago looking for a new place to hide. And somehow, to this day, nobody knows exactly how he ends up inside Lee Miglin's house. Now, there are theories. Some say Lee knew Andrew. Some say Andrew conned his way inside. Some even say Lee's private life had something to do with it. But however it happened, the end result was the same. A brutal, gruesome scene straight out of a horror movie. Andrew didn't just end Lee Miglin's life, he tortured him. First, he tied him up. Then, he used a saw, a screwdriver, and garden shears to inflict pure, calculated pain. By the time it was over, Lee was left wrapped in plastic, his body completely mutilated. And Andrew? He stole his car. Now, at this point, you'd think the FBI would finally put the pieces together. But nope. They still weren't connecting the dots. By the time Lee Miglin's body was found, Andrew was already speeding down the highway in his victim's Lexus, heading straight for his next stop, New Jersey. And that's where things get even more terrifying. Because Andrew? He wasn't done yet. May 9th, 1997, Pennsville, New Jersey. Andrew pulls into the parking lot of a random cemetery, steps out of his stolen Lexus, and walks straight up to a man he has never met in his life. His name? William Reese, a 45-year-old cemetery caretaker. A normal guy minding his own business, just doing his job. And Andrew shoots him, just like that. Unlike his last 3 victims, this wasn't personal. William Reese wasn't an old friend. He wasn't connected to Andrew in any way. He was just a man with a car Andrew wanted. Andrew ditches Lee Miglin's Lexus, takes William Reese's red Chevy pickup, and vanishes. And finally, the FBI realizes what's happening. Now Andrew Cunanan is officially America's Most Wanted. His face is on every TV screen, every newspaper, every police bulletin. 4 bodies, 4 states, 1 psychopathic liar with nothing left to lose. And his next stop? Miami, where one of the most famous people in the world is about to cross paths with him. And it's not going to end well. By now, Andrew Cunanan was a walking ghost. His face was plastered everywhere. Every news channel, every FBI list, every cop in the country knew his name. 4 victims, 4 states, and a trail of chaos, destruction, and violence in his wake. But despite being the most wanted man in America, Andrew had one advantage. Nobody knew where he was. Because while the FBI was scrambling, Andrew, he was already in Miami. He had been there for 2 whole months. 2 months, hiding in plain sight. He checked into the Normandy Plaza Hotel, a rundown motel just steps away from the beach, paying in cash, keeping a low profile. No disguises, no fake names, nothing. And somehow, nobody recognized him. The guy would go out for walks, grab food, even chat with people. But when you've got bleach blonde hair, designer sunglasses, and the confidence of a con artist, people don't exactly expect you to be the guy from the FBI's most wanted list. But Andrew wasn't just hiding in Miami. He was watching. And one person had caught his attention more than anyone else. Gianni Versace. Now, Versace wasn't just famous. He was a legend, one of the biggest fashion icons in the world. This was the guy who dressed Princess Diana, Madonna, Elton John. His name was everywhere. And every morning, like clockwork, Versace would step outside his mansion on Ocean Drive to grab a coffee and a newspaper. Same time, same routine. Andrew took notes. He watched, he waited, he studied every little detail. And on July 15, 1997, he made his move. It's 8:45 a.m. Versace steps out of his mansion just like he does every morning. He walks down the steps, picks up a newspaper, reaches into his pocket for change. And behind him, Andrew is already there. Before Versace even realizes what's happening, 2 shots. One in the back of the head, one in the neck. And just like that, Gianni Versace, the man who built an empire, the legend, was gone. Right there on the steps of his own mansion. People screamed. Panic erupted. But Andrew, he walked away. No running, no hiding, just calmly disappearing into the Miami streets. And for the first time in his life, he had nowhere left to go. For the next 8 days, Miami was on high alert. Every cop, every agent, every news reporter in the country was looking for one man. And Andrew? He was still in Miami, hiding in a houseboat just a few miles away. He barely left. He knew the FBI was closing in. And on July 23, 1997, they finally found him. Surrounded, trapped, nowhere left to run. But Andrew? He wasn't about to let the cops take him in. Before they could storm the houseboat, he made his final move. A single gunshot. And just like that, it was over. The man who had spent 3 months evading capture, conning his way through life, leaving behind a trail of chaos, destruction, and unanswered questions, was gone. No trial, no confession, no final words, just a deadly legacy and a list of victims whose families would never get the answers they deserved. And to this day, nobody knows exactly why he did it. Some say he wanted fame, some say he was settling scores, others believe he was unraveling from the inside, chasing a fantasy, living out his own twisted version of reality. But the truth disappeared with him. And all that's left are the victims he left behind. That's the story. Now I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment below, let's talk about it. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.